Okey dokey, right? All right. Call to order a meeting of the Scituate Board of Health, Monday, May 15th, 2017, Selectmen's Chambers, Town Hall, at 6 p.m. I will take a motion to open the meeting and accept the agenda.
Motion to open the meeting and accept the agenda.
Second? I'll take it then.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. First up, scheduled item, discuss vote, deadline extension request for River Shed for grease trap installation. And that would be Karen.
Good evening.
Obviously, want to make this short and sweet. I don't want to waste a lot of your time. So we're asking for an extension to build a little bit of a buffer in October for the grease trap. We have a quote that we are from May 8th from, I only made 2 copies, but if you guys want to just pass it around, from Morse Engineering. There's a drainage issue in the parking lot, and so we're going to partner up with our landlord and take care of both things at once, which is kind of where a little bit of the delay went in. I also have an email just showing good faith that right after our meeting in January, on February 7th, I had a correspondence from an engineer that I had come out and take a look at everything. I'm not looking to try to revoke your decision or anything, but this was what he said. It's more importantly just to show you that I was, I did.
We're not dragging our feet.
We did our due diligence, and, it's not like we've just been sitting here waiting till May and saying, oh, let's find someone. I've had 3 different engineers come out and decided that because Greg has a bunch of the surveys already on file, can save us a few $1,000s. So we are moving forward with that, and he told me it's a minimum of 6 weeks before he can deliver the plans in our hands, which at this time puts us at, if it's exactly 6 weeks, it puts us at right about the July deadline, and then it doesn't give us much time to send things up to bid. So that's where we're at.
So do you have, besides Greg's thing, do you have proposals from any companies of doing it? So like when you get it, July?
I can't have someone give me a proposal until they have actual plans.
Okay.
And that's part of the problem here. So it's like 2 different things that we needed to do, and I didn't know that, because I thought that it was like one of those things where, they'd come out, draw the plans up, but he said it's like 6 weeks because he's got to get permission from conservation, so he's got to go to his own boards in order to get the permits in place to approve the exact plans that we need.
Have you signed a contract with Greg, or is it 6 weeks from the time you sign a contract?
I've been trying to, but he's really busy, so trying to get everything in motion. We were supposed to meet at some point this week for me to give him a check and so we can get the plans drawn up, but...
So you're committed to working with him?
We are committed with Greg. We have like a verbal, yes, we're moving forward with this.
So he's starting all the stuff now? I mean, it's not
Yes.
like if you don't get to him until
Yes.
the 20th, it's not 6 weeks from that.
Right.
He's already started on the process.
The 6 weeks, is that what you're asking?
I think
Yeah.
that we're basically at that cusp right now because we've just,
I mean, especially if we emailed this to you, so he must be starting to do.
yeah, the one thing I'm waiting for is he's dividing the scope of work between us and our landlord, because we have a drainage issue in the parking lot that needs to be addressed. And so the landlord's taking care of that part of it, so he's going to split the contract up. I was supposed to get it back today, and I haven't checked my email, maybe it's there, but that's what we're waiting for, and then we're going to give him the go-ahead to get the plans drawn and move forward.
And from that, do you have people that you will call afterwards? Do you have already?
I've already done that due diligence. I have a local company and then another company to do the excavation and stuff.
Okay.
So I already have
So
people
once
I've
you have
talked
the plans,
to.
it's who to call. You already
Right.
know who to call and get them
Yes,
going.
and I've told them in the past that, we need to get this done quickly, so I think once I have the plans, it should move quickly, but I don't want to have to come back here again to you guys and be like, oh, we need another extension.
So if all goes well, the Greg gets all this pushed through and you do all your, whatever permitting needs to be permitted, what is the exact timeline when do you think you can't dig in the middle of the summer, obviously, so
Right.
how is, all you're asking for is a date. Date's fine, but, and I understand you can't do this before, horse before the cart, but there should be some, if we go ahead and grant this, there's gotta be some hardline dates here. Because you put us in a tricky situation, and I know what you guys, you have wonderful 2 kids coming along the way. You're a basketball coach and everything that goes along with you.
I'm not a basketball coach.
If you do everything that goes along, if I do for one and not for the other, what do you think? What we do is we set a precedent. And everybody who watches this, and either right or wrong, because everything stands on its own, meaning every single situation has its own merits, and every single situation has its own circumstances. But if we gave you to X amount of date, and I see a date of May 8th from Greg, that just makes us think for the past 5 months, and I know that you've done stuff, I've seen email correspondences, that stuff wasn't done, and now you're asking for another 5 months. So that means when you put us in a tricky situation as, like I said, everything stands on its own merit, that when somebody else comes in here, either be whatever the reason may be, is that they're gonna look at us and say we did for them, and albeit every situation is different. And that's kind of where I look at it, is that, what you do for one, I have to do for the other. And I don't know how these 2 guys feel about it. That's the way I feel about it. I'm not telling you which way I'm going to say yes or no. I'm just saying that if you look at it that way, it's just, that's a little unfair. You know what I mean? Especially seeing how here we are, and I don't know the exact date of January when we met, but here we are 5 months later, and you're just asking for an extension.
That's why I brought the date of February 7th from when he came out. And then the other guy that came out said he would not take the job on because he does not believe it's us causing the problems. I can give you documentation of that as well. And again, I'm not here to try to question your
And
decision.
there's been multiple
And the
dialogue.
reason I'm asking for October is because my goal is to get this done the week after Labor Day. But again, there's a lot of moving parts, and if somebody doesn't deliver on their end, I don't want to have to come back to you guys and have you guys be like, okay,
So let me
come
ask you
on.
this, so the October 15th deadline that you're self-imposing on yourself, if you start at September or whatever Labor Day is this week, this year, 8th, 9th, 10th, whatever it may be, is the month going to be long enough to get it done?
I would hope so.
If the month isn't long enough to get it done, we will not be in business, so
Yeah, that's-
let's just hope it is.
There was a email here, saw that one, but there's a little bit of light there, which makes me feel comfortable, and I believe in the continuity and all the dates and everything that are set. This letter here, I'm just baffled by, I am, so I'm just gonna disregard that, because that doesn't make any sense to anything we're talking about as far as I'm concerned. DPW looked and noticed grease in the lift station. They're okay with the extension, as long as you guys clean it. And I think they're looking at having it cleaned now and before any improvements are done.
Yeah, again, we're not,
To keep it clean.
I'm not
And I
saying
think
there's no grease, it's
There was
just,
a quote of maybe $1,800 as an estimate, could be $1,600, could be $2,200, I don't know. I don't think, in light of that, and what DPW said, that I'd have a problem with the extension, as long as you guys agree to maintain it.
okay.
That's what I'm looking at.
So it's maintained now?
Yeah, basically to keep it clean, we don't want a failure, and that's the biggest thing. And
So
that's-
between now and the 15th of October, if that's granted, keep it
See, what I was
Keep it
gonna,
clean.
what I was gonna suggest is that we clean, if we double up on what we're already doing inside of our internal system,
I think they're more worried about the station.
But here we are, so when was the last time in January when they had it jetted, right before we had our last meeting.
So, yeah, it was jetted right before the January
So it
23rd
was
meeting.
pretty clean.
Right, so it was cleaned by a combination of contractors, town
Yep.
contractor, your contractors, you cleaned your lines, they cleaned the pump
Yep.
station.
So here we are 5 months after the fact, and it says that it's approximately 6 to 8 inches of grease buildup. So, and again, now, we've already established that the grease is there. Whatever cleaning methods you're doing just don't seem to be working, because there's still 6 to 8 inches of grease in 5 months, and it's not even a busy 5 months. So the busy times come out in summer. So, I guess, so the DPW recommend, they're okay with it, with as far as Kara and Michael paying for the jetting.
So their recommendation, so once we received the request for an extension, I passed along the date of the meeting and the rationale for the request that you had given me. The sewer department went out, checked the manhole closest to the pump station. Found 6 to 8 inches of grease. So the sewer superintendent and DPW director came in after they had their team meeting and said that they would be fine with the extension with the condition that, to expand upon what Steve is saying, to clean, so they would clean the pump station and invoice you. Now, with the 6 to 8 inches of grease, and then right before your grease trap goes online. That was their proposal for accepting the extension. And that was the extent of the conversation. So you know where they're coming from.
And I
So
think the
that's-
quote was given of $1,800, so again, we don't know, that's a quote. So you kind of got to budget that, if that's okay in your realm of finances.
So pretty much it's gonna cost us $1,800 to get an extension. Is that pretty much?
No, probably
They're 18 times 2.
times 2, once now and once later. Yeah. And that's on the recommendation of DPW, and I hope we're explaining it. It's not trying to extort anything out of you. The thing is that the grease, from what we can tell, is coming from your establishment. That's why we're trying to have
And that's the
grease.
hard part for me, is from what you can tell and not having proof is really hard for me to stomach, because we're doing this in good faith because we want to make things better. I just want to finish what I'm saying. So, you know, we're looking at like a $30,000 to $40,000 project for a very small 66-seat restaurant. And
In which we were granted a variance for before we bought it.
And we're not, I mean, I'm not putting up a fight, I'm not, I've talked to attorneys, they want to take this on. I don't want to do that. I want to comply with what you guys are asking for. I want to make things right, because that's the way that I like to do business. So this is just really hard to stomach that we're going to have to pay an extra, I mean, just the plans alone are costing us $4,500. And now we have to pay all this extra money, when we're doing everything that we said we would do under our bargain in order to get the variance that we got. So it's a tough pill to swallow.
Well, I do have to say, so when our food inspector was out there in February, she found grease running down the driveway. So there are things that could be done better, and there are things that could be controlled better to avoid some of the grease being deposited into the sewer system. So, I can fully appreciate, I was relatively new here, I can fully appreciate the previous owners got variance with whatever evidence they brought in. But it's also been maintained that the grease has to be well controlled to keep that variance. And there have been a few instances, and I feel like we all looked at the manholes together and saw the grease in your line. So I'm not sure, we've made the statement that it may not be all you, but we're trying to eliminate Rivershed as being that source.
And we had not once questioned you guys on that. We're doing everything we need to do
Well, we're
to
trying
do
to do
this.
everything to prove it that way and to show, without just putting the fix down and saying that's how it's going to be.
Well, I mean,
we've tried the best.
You guys made your decision and we're complying with it, so it's just, I mean, there's been a little bit of a delay with things. It's just, like I said, I had a contractor who was like, I don't
But
want
with the
to.
delay becomes buildup of grease in the thing, and if we're doing this because the grease is coming from that business or establishment, then I guess the rationale is then that's your responsibility, or
I
that
will-
business or establishment's responsibility to keep it maintained and clean.
And so for
I
me,
think
it's like,
that's the thought process.
I will jet our lines
Right.
every 2 weeks, between now and the time. I mean, I will do what we need to do. But to clean the pump station, that to me is just like, I don't know. I mean, we're not the only person going into the pump station. So it's like, if we were to say, you know, we'll double up on our grease traps, we'll jet our lines, we'll do what we need to do, anything that might be us causing that problem until, you know, this work is completed, I'd be fine with that, because those are our lines and that's us. But to say that we're responsible for cleaning a pump station, which I've been told by 2 different engineers is not in the best shape, it's like, that's just kind of tough. But
So age of infrastructure, whatever it may be, and I don't know what that is, doesn't change whether there's grease going to it or not. It's either going or it's not. And I feel like you and I spent many visits to all of the various manholes on both lines. And the manholes on your line had grease. The manholes in the main system receiving grease from Driftway and Countryway didn't.
right, and 2 of the engineers,
Fluid, not grease.
Right, sorry.
2 of the engineers that I met with said the other manhole was gushing water at such a fast rate that the pump station could not keep up with it. So it's like, I mean, this is not my forte. I'm not someone that, you know, specializes in pump stations and grease and like I'm this pro, and I'm not. So this is a huge learning curve for me, but like when you have professionals come out and give you their opinion, that's what I'm going on.
Let me ask you a question. So the date with that was very proactive, you did that right after January meeting. Why wait until now to show us that, and then come and ask for the variance?
I sent it to Jen.
Okay, but still, why didn't you just ask for another meeting and just say, this is what I found?
With-
We would have had
with
these.
this?
Yeah.
So,
Because I respected the decision you guys made.
I know, but I would have, but then you shouldn't have never brought that to the table today. Because honestly, I would have listened to another thing.
this doesn't speak to grease at all.
It does, but it's like coming from the parking lot.
And what Jen said to me-
Part of it was to show that we reached out on February 7th.
That's the only reason I brought this.
This
I'm not
is
here
what-
trying
That's
to,
just a different engineer. The engineer, he doesn't even think it's not, we don't even need it by reading that.
Most engineers don't think we need it.
Okay.
and Jen asked me, and I'm not throwing you under the bus, you said to me, this is just an email. Can you please have him write up a document? And I asked him for the document 3 or 4 times. I knew I wasn't going to use him, and he never sent me the document. So therefore, it was kind of like a, you know, null and void. I don't know if you remember that.
I don't remember that. I do remember responding to you that this didn't speak to the grease issue. This spoke to sewage and the amount of surface water. It basically speaks to I&I.
Yeah, and
That
you
this
said you
engineer
wanted like a
speaks to
letter,
I&I.
not an email forward, which totally understandable. So I, you know, he just never sent it to me. So then I found somebody else, he said he wouldn't take it on because he didn't think it was our problem. He's like, I mean, I'll take your money if you want, but I don't think it's you. So that's when I went to Greg. Oh, no, and then I got another quote from a guy that was like $4,500, and a lot of it was for site work. And then I went to Greg, and Greg had a bunch of the survey work done. So I'm like, okay, I can save $1,000 by going with Greg, and so that's where we are today. So again, it's not like I've been sitting there, we've had 4 different people come out.
I know, I would have entertained it. I mean, if you brought to that, brought us to that, and you told Jay you wanted to be on the agenda, then we would have done that, and we would have brought Kevin in here, and we would have sat and listened to what this guy had to say. But now, you know, as Russell said, that's null and void now, so it's water under the bridge.
I respect the fact you did
Right.
it so quick, but I'm just not relating
Sure.
his report as to what the issue is.
And again, it's sort of like, I'm not bringing this for you guys to like, you made your decision, you listened to us several times, you made your decision, I respected your decision. I'm only bringing this in so you know that I wasn't like, oh, it's May, I gotta get a quote. So that's the only
That's what
reason
it's
I'm bringing
about.
this in.
We're not in
It's
here, we're here to
like-
get an extension, we're
I'm
not here to change your minds.
like arguing with you guys, like, we know we're gonna do this.
So I think it goes back to the cleaning, and I That's, again, I can only speak for myself. I just read the email a couple minutes ago in the office, and I can kind of see what DPW, I see exactly what DPW is suggesting, and I'm willing to go along with that. It's just, that's what it is, trying to put it right out on the table, and I respect your opposition to it, but I'm not sure what other way to go is, as far as that is. And in jetting those lines, I think, I mean, if you jet the lines, you're just sending the grease down into the pump station anyways. You're just sending the problem down the line, so I think that's why DPW would like to see that clean now, because before we have a, I don't know, maybe my words are too harsh, but a catastrophic failure. And so it's clean now, knowing that there's grease buildup there, and then as you work through your process and get things done, then have it clean one more time.
So I'm just hypothetically throwing this out, so given the fact that all the verbiage around, the grease situation is that, like, we're working backwards to try to figure out where this is coming from, even though we think it's you, we can't prove it, like, wouldn't it make sense to kind of split the cost if it's like we're talking about 2 manholes in a pump station where things are coming in at?
I think everybody's pretty confident with where the grease is coming from. I haven't really.
Everybody from your, like, the town side, yeah.
I understand.
Okay, I mean, I guess if we don't have a choice, we don't have a choice. I mean, we need an extension because we're not gonna be able to get it done by July, so.
So if I can just kind of back up, step away from the money piece for just a second and ask a couple questions about the schedule based on the work you've done with Greg. So, assuming that he's gonna give you a quote in a timely fashion to divide up the work between you and the landlord for the 2 separate but related issues. He's talking about 6 to 8 weeks.
He said it's gonna be 6 weeks, but given, like, I always like to build in a buffer with contractors.
And that's where I'm going.
And that's where this date is coming from.
Okay.
Because I'm smart enough to know that I'm not gonna put on the calendar 6 weeks and then 4 weeks, and then I'm coming back to you guys and you're looking at us like we're like, dragging our feet. So
And that's where I'm going to.
Yes.
So I'm thinking, okay, so, Greg promised you something this week, let's say maybe it's not till next week.
Sure.
So we're talking, let's say, holiday, end of May. He really gets you something that you can work with and
Yes.
sign on the dotted line. Because
Yes.
he may not give you something to sign off on right away. So you're talking end of May, and then it takes him 6, and I'll say 8 weeks.
Let's say
for
8
him.
because 4th of July is involved and it's like, the summertime.
And you get summer
Yep.
vacation and all those things, so we're then looking at
Mid to end of July.
end of July.
Mhm.
So then that only gives you, and I'm
Mhm.
trying to make sure we are talking about a
Sure.
good date. So we're talking end of July where you get a plan.
Yep.
That you would then provide to each of your contractors.
To bid on.
To bid on. So let's say that's a month, you going back and forth, maybe you making a selection, is that reasonable? So that would be.
We hope so.
August,
Yeah,
right?
we hope
So
so.
the end of
Yep.
August.
And then it's about getting scheduling the work and getting it done and figuring out how long it takes.
Right, so then you're relying on, let's say, a 6-week window with another holiday built in, the
Yeah.
Labor Day holiday, to get the work actually done.
Correct.
And does that schedule kind of working forward, I know you work backwards, I'm now working forward, does that schedule seem reasonable? That way we're picking this one date and going with
Right.
that one date.
That's kind of what I've, doing what we just did in my head, kind of came up with in terms of, like, I feel like it's building a little bit of a cushion. In that, obviously, I'm going to have to, like, have pretty serious deadlines with people, including engineers and stuff like that, because this isn't something that we're doing at our leisure. So that's kind of where the October 15th date came in.
Do you know how long it takes to put in an outside grease trap? I've never dealt with it. But I mean, anyone that's put them in Scituate?
I think this is a different story because we're on a concrete slab, and that's why this is so expensive.
Okay.
And that, not to backtrack, but that was why when we purchased JW Burger Bar, that was something that we considered, and that's why we went for the variance then, because I knew this is not something that you can just go into the crawl space and fix it up.
Because it was an undue hardship.
You need to drill up that concrete slab, and that's why, with our landlord, that's why we want to do things concurrently with the drainage.
And this is why this is also a tricky situation, because it doesn't just involve engineers and, excavation, it involves plumbers, it involves like, a lot of different moving parts, and,
And if it was outside in our driveway, we could stay open. We could say, hey, we'll do this, and, people will work during the day, and, we can open at night. But this is,
They're gonna be in the kitchen.
affecting everything.
Right.
So you've talked to, and this is maybe just more for education purposes, so you've talked to a few contractors that would do the work.
Yep.
And they're telling you that they're gonna have to drill down through your kitchen and place it under your kitchen, or are they still
No.
gonna wind up going outside into the driveway somewhere for the trap
I believe the
itself?
setback is 8 feet from the building, so it's gonna be 8 feet in the parking lot. We have to jackhammer up a section of our floor to tie in. I've met with Phil Von Eiderstein several times. We are required to tie in what's currently tied in, which is the 3-bay sink, the dishwasher, and then we have to tie in the prep sink. We do not have to tie in the floor drains, and we do not have to tie in the mop sink, which is not, we don't even use it. And I believe we might even be able to eliminate that altogether, which is good, because originally we were looking at having to jack up the entire floor and get rid of our employee bathroom, which is
I remember that.
not advantageous to anybody. So that was a little bit of good news from Phil, but because we have to tie in an extra sink, we are gonna have to jack up the floor, and then regardless, we have to jack up the floor in order to exit out the line into the grease trap and then tie it back into the line. So we might even have to dig up some of the floor in the dining room, so. it's
Do
just
the bathrooms have to be tied into that?
No,
Oh,
they
no,
cannot
they
be,
shouldn't.
yeah.
And if-
Sanitary
about-
can't be tied in.
What about the mop sink? If they got rid of it, they don't have to have that in that,
Mm-mm.
no, okay.
So it would be in exchange, the mop sink for the floor.
Right, and we don't use the mop sink. We haven't used it. It's
Right.
basically storage, so.
And the grease comes out of water, I should say, comes out of a dishwasher or anything. Is there any cooling that takes place on it to get it to settle out?
And that's why the internal grease traps aren't perfect. Because what they're doing is they're taking the hot water with the hot grease. Some of it's getting
Liquefied,
trapped, right,
basically.
right. Some of it's getting trapped, and some of it is. slipping-
Emulsified.
slipping. Right,
Would be the culinary term.
There you go.
We have a
Low temp.
low temperature dishwasher too, which is even more ironic. It acts, the chemicals in the sanitizer acts as the cleaning process, not hot water.
Not the hot water.
So, I still can't wrap my head around it, but we're,
It was just a story I heard from the Bridgeway not too long ago, and they were talking about the grease being hot and everything else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it can
I was
slip
talking with the old
through.
owner, and he said, yeah, we figured that out, 30 years ago. And it took us 10 years and 2 septic systems to figure it out.
right.
Now his nephews just went through it, put one in.
Not an easy process.
Not fun.
And it's actually easier, I think, on septic, because, you build one tank, you build a
Mhm.
series of tanks, and
Yeah.
then, it settles out, and it stays in your own, your own system in one part, and this is kind of like half septic and half
Right.
sewer, so.
Yep.
Right, so I think it's even a little more difficult when you're talking about a sewer system. Because you're not just worried about you, but you worry about everyone else.
Right.
Alrighty then. I think that's enough babble about it. Well, what do you think of those?
I mean, I'm fine with the extension and, that part there. It's just making sure we have a hard date. I mean, if October 15th is gonna be, I guess that's where we have to stay with that.
Jim, I see an A and a B on this motion. One, the owners reimburse the town cleaning of the wet well located adjacent to the pump station given the 6 to 8 continuation increase observed a few days ago. Or the owner reimburses the town for cleaning of the wet well located adjacent to the pump station now, given the 6 to 8 inches, and again, immediately prior to the operation of the grease trap. So, in order for this to vote on this, you would have to pick one. So one is immediately now, that they pay the X amount of dollars it is. is to whack them now when they want them
I think that was what DPW described in this email.
in. Well, there's a choice of A and a choice of B.
Yeah. And I would fall right in line with DPW myself. It just, yeah. Number two, if I interpret that right, that's exactly what that says.
So the town clean it and bill them, or
Yeah.
they clean it?
It was the DPW's recommendation to support the extension that they clean it.
That
Well,
email-
their
that
contractor
email-
cleans it.
Who?
Um,
Theirs.
No,
This is
the
email.
town's, the town's contractor cleans it,
That's
and then,
email from DPW. Jen, do
um,
you have an
Rivershed
email from
reimbursed.
DPW?
They did not send me an email. They came in and spoke to me last Wednesday.
So is there an option, is there option A and B here?
Yeah, it's about an $1,800 hour, give or take.
Well, anything helps at this point.
So, before we draft this motion and we'll do our thing, we have to decide once or twice. And that has to be the decision before we can go ahead.
Twice makes sense to me, because it's now, and it took from January to now to get to where we are, and then we're going through the summer months on the same usage, and it should be cleaned again before the trap and everything is introduced, so that way you're starting with a clean slate.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. I'm all for now, but is it fair for them to, is it fair for them to have to clean it before it goes live, or should?
It's been 5 months of use without the trap that should have been in.
But I guess my other question is, if they clean it now and there's not the buildup from now until they go live,
There will be a buildup, because this proves it right here, that we went from January until now, the 6 to 8 inches of grease. So there will be a buildup. And jetting it won't be the answer, because it's just gonna move it back and forth. So, well, I guess we have to choose before we go into it. You made your choice.
and which one?
Just one other thing though, is because that wasn't a requirement beforehand. So like, say we were to get this done by July 15th, which is what we said, like this was never, imposed on us prior, but now we're getting like double hit with it. Just seems a little.
Yeah, they didn't say
Again, I mean,
that.
I think that, I don't need to say it again, I think that you guys probably know, like, we're wanting to make this right. And it'd be nice to have a little bit of like a, meet halfway, two-way kind of
I
street.
think DPW is trying to help too by allowing the extension. They're not coming to us and saying, no, this has got to be fixed. Why aren't you getting this fixed?
I know, which is why we're here
They've
trying
given a
to.
solution to say that it's got to be cleaned and this is the responsibility.
Well, they're making us pay for it. That's the DPW's way of saying it needs to be, I mean, we're
Yeah, if you're not getting
maintaining
it
it.
fixed with the grease trap, then you got to maintain it.
So if I understand your question, if you were to have it done, and correct me, if you were to have it done by the July deadline, you wouldn't be responsible for cleaning.
Correct.
So your question is, why are
So
you?
we have it clean before July, get our extension, do the work that we need to do, and then hopefully we're never here again.
That's a valid point. Is that if they weren't here asking for an extension, because this 6 to 8 inches of grease would still be there, probably be 10 to 12 inches by the time that they had any kind of like people.
And we're gonna pay for it once.
Huh?
I think the deadline's July 1st, just to kind of.
Whatever it is.
So point is, yes, the answer to your question is yes. If the grease trap were in July 1, no, you wouldn't, you weren't requested to clean it, so no. DPW has never come to me and asked me to check it, to have it checked, or to clean it prior to July 1. With the extension request, they went out, identified what they had identified, and came to me with that option.
I mean,
I
there's a
guess if
reason.
everything went to plan, then it would have just been cleaned by the town, and if they looked at it in another 6 months and there's no grease in there, then fix the problem and town would have taken care of it. And there's a lot of what ifs, but
Yes, there is.
Make a decision. In order for us to do this, we all have to be on the same page, because we have to draft this. Well, we have to pick one in order to draft it. We may not all vote the same way, but we have to be able to draft whichever one we want to do. I know your decision.
I mean, I'm kind of with his, but wording,
So the decision is A, we pay for it once, or B, we pay for it twice.
Correct. Or we have the ability, this is based on what the DPW has recommended to us. We have the ability to call an audible right now and change whichever way we like.
That doesn't,
be a
just,
slap in the face
just,
to the DPW if
understood, but, you know, the DPW and, you know, for us trying to appease the DPW and work with them, if they didn't think A was an option, why would they present it?
They didn't.
They did.
I was presenting, so part of my job is to present all sorts of options to these guys to think about. Option one, which they haven't even pulled out, is to not grant the extension. That's a separate motion that I drafted for them. I drafted a extension with the exact option presented by DPW. And then I drafted one, just thinking out loud, giving them something to think about, was something in the middle. It's my job to come up with options for them to think about and for
Sure.
them to deliberate and take in all of the opinions that are brought forward from you, from DPW, and from each other sitting here. So that's where the options came from.
none
They
of those
were-
options have to be exercised.
Right, they can come up with their
course.
own entirely.
Of course.
That I would never think of.
Yep.
so my question is, what about the extension? I'm all for giving the extension. And like they said, if it was July 1st, we wouldn't be pumping it. What if we go with the extension, have them pump it now, and then they have to put it in, but we're not pumping it again before? Because it never would have been pumped. It would have been pumped and cleaned by the town if they were July 1st,
Well, that's option A.
which is pump it, clean it now,
Correct.
and give them the October.
The owners reimburse the town for cleaning of the wet well located adjacent to the pump station, given the 6 to 8 inches accumulation of grease observed May 10th, the other day.
Right, and then they wouldn't, and then they get the extension and they just do the one-time pumping.
We wouldn't have to pay for it twice.
That is correct.
I would second the motion, but I don't think I would vote that way. I believe in option B. Sorry.
And DPW, Kevin Cafferty thinks that in order for them to get their extension, they should have to take place once before the deadline.
So Kevin Cafferty, the DPW director, and Will Granton, the acting supervisor for the sewer division, apparently had a meeting. They did a site visit, they had a meeting, and they came to me last Wednesday, saying that they're both fine with the extension, provided that the wet well, the one wet well right in front of the pump station be cleaned now and before the grease trap goes live. That was their,
And the
that was
approximate
their,
cost they told you was 1,800, but it could be plus or minus.
they didn't say anything about pluses or minuses, they just gave me, because I specifically asked, what are we talking about for cost? They gave me an estimate of $1,800
I
per
think that comes back to
cleaning.
what we talked about earlier. I said the plus or minus, because you never know.
Right.
These are round number.
I'm just trying to repeat exactly what they said to me and what they didn't.
It's not our place to get an exact number.
Right,
We don't
I would
know.
have no
Yeah, I'm
idea.
not hearsay anyway, so.
So how about if we, okay.
Well, there's one way to present it, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
I'd make a motion, the owners reimburse the town for cleaning the wet well located adjacent to the pump station now given the 6 to 8 inch accumulation of grease observed May 10th, 2000, and again immediately prior to the operation of the grease trap. By option, if it's seconded or not. If it's not seconded, it's dead.
Well, if it's dead, that means it falls to the first one, that means all three of us are granting the extension no matter what. Right,
More or less.
right? I mean, that
It's either unanimous, or it's 2 yay, 1 nay, or
So
2 nay,
right,
it's
so I
all on
think
how
what's
you want to do it.
Right, so I think what's happening is Russell is presenting a motion
That's right.
and is looking for a second. If there's no second, that motion stops and you go to the second, a different motion. And look for a second and a vote.
Well, I was gonna present something different. I was gonna say they pay for it now. And then put stipulations on the second one.
Did you just make a motion?
Oh, we can't.
All right, so he made a motion.
Right.
So now the question is there a second?
And I might have skipped on that too, for the record. It is moved to grant the extension requested, revise the deadline to be October 15, 2017, as voted on at the January 23, 2017 meeting of the Board of Health with the following conditions. And my conditions were the owner reimburse the town for cleaning of the wet well located adjacent to the pump station, now given the 6 to 8 inch accumulation of grease observed on May 10, 2017, and again immediately prior to the operation of the grease trap. So that's the,
So is there a second?
On or about October 15th, right?
Yeah.
yeah, it should be before October, immediately before October 15th, for the implementation of the new grease traps.
I guess I got a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So the language is on or about?
In order to, before it goes live, and so you just,
So I'm saying if we
You
get
just
this
gotta
done in
be so-
September, that's not on or about, so can we put a timeline on it?
well, if you think, sure, we can change that.
Like, what if I can get it done in September?
In September will probably cost you less money because there'll be less grease there, depending on how busy it is for the next few months. Sure, we can put a date on that.
Can you just write on or before October 15th?
Yes.
So,
I think, I mean, I see where you're coming from, but we kind of, did we work this date in for a reason? Did we have that discussion earlier about the date?
right, so the
Yeah,
deadline,
fine.
right, so the deadline date that they're looking for is October 15th. I think what they're now saying is, when you add this language in, sorry, you know, so the motion as stated was, and again, immediately prior to the operation of the grease trap. There was no date attached because the grease trap could go live in September, it could go
Sure.
live in October, it could go live whenever. So the goal being that it be cleaned before the grease trap goes in, not necessarily on the 15th, because it may be in a month or 2 months earlier.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Just left the way it is. That's-
And that way, it actually frees you up date-wise, because why would you want to clean something after your grease trap goes in?
Okay.
Right, so if we were to say that the grease trap, or they were to say that the grease trap were to be cleaned on or about October 15th.
No, I understand what you're saying.
And you put it in September, then you would be responsible for
Right.
cleaning up after someone else, potentially.
Got it.
Prior to the operation of the grease trap.
Correct.
Okay.
So that they're not responsible for anybody else.
The implementation of the grease trap.
Right.
Just strictly maintenance.
will we have access to the findings prior to this going live?
What do you mean?
Like the manholes that where you guys are discovering grease that is supposed to be our grease. Will we have access to see what the DPW finds after
Yeah,
our grease
that
tech
was
will?
on the record in the meeting not too long ago. Absolutely.
Well,
I mean, can we be there for the meetings and bring an independent person with us? I mean,
Sure,
so can we know when those inspections are happening?
sure.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, I think each time in the last several months that you were there, you were there.
Mhm.
And I think.
Well, it's just that, it's the conflicting information. You know, it's the, oh, you have such a low trickle because your lines are clogged with grease. Engineer says, if your lines were clogged with grease, you'd have a backup in the restaurant. We've never had a backup in the restaurant. Your water flow at noon, when there's no water really being used, is perfect. When there's water gushing in from the driftway, saying that there's absolutely no way that pump station can handle the amount of volume of water coming in. So it's just like, you know, we're hearing different things. So,
I mean, I don't have any problem with that. I'd rather be open, crystal clear. Absolutely. As far as I'm concerned, I got nothing to hide.
So, yeah,
From
so,
the macro,
so,
it's transparency, that's the word I was looking for. Absolutely. No,
Okay.
so regardless of how ultimately they vote, I will send an email to the sewer superintendent,
Mhm.
DPW director, I'll CC you,
okay,
on your request to whenever they go out and look at any of the manholes, can you be present?
Okay.
And to work with you to schedule those.
Perfect.
dates.
that's great, thank you.
So, back to the potential motion? 'Cause I
No, the
think-
motion was done and voted.
So,
But-
I missed
Yeah.
the vote. I heard a second, but I missed the vote. I heard
Two yeas.
two yeas and,
Is there no vote or?
is there a no or?
No.
No. Okay.
Okay, so voted 2-1. Deadline extension granted, 2 cleanings, 1 on or about now, and 1 before the grease trap goes live. I will notify them and will, even though I will CC you in the morning.
Good?
Great,
All right, thank you.
thank you.
Good work, guys, thank you. All right, next up, new business director's report, Jen, please. What do we got?
All right, so a little summary of what's going on. We
It's a
have
tick.
Was it really?
Yeah,
Did you kill it?
yeah,
a tick.
yeah.
Oh my God, oh, great.
Lyme disease in Scituate.
You're at town hall, attaboy, help me.
Oh, I hope that thing's really dead.
I think it is.
Was he on you?
Yeah,
The
it
pin
just
in the
came
wire.
on my pants.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
That's kind of scary.
It's scary.
Who's in here today?
Well,
Director's report. So yes, so we have 2 private well applications, neither of which are new, since we met last. So far, we've issued 1 permit for a private well. I'm currently working on a frequently asked questions document associated with the beaches, to try to do yet one more step to help with communication, interaction with the public, how they can get information, which beaches are open, which are closed. I think we've been doing a really good job of improving, identifying and alerting the public as to when beaches are open or closed, but I think it's just one more avenue so that people can
we're
have.
still using the flag systems at the lifeguard stations?
Yep, so we're implementing, thankfully, we haven't had many closures last year, so we didn't have to use the flags.
Yeah.
But yes, we are using the flags, following Hummerock's lead, where they fly one up the flagpole at the fire station. We don't have that option for 24/7 placement at all the other beaches. So the best we can do for the flags at the other beaches is to put a pole with the same flag on the lifeguard stations when the lifeguards are present. When they're not present, we're still gonna have to rely on the big red stop signs that are right at the entrances to the beach, plus the little one that nobody ever sees, but we're required to put up saying high bacteria at this beach on this day.
Right.
Um,
I wonder, I never thought of this before, but I wonder if there's almost, I hate to do that though. I hate to have a sign posted that says, you know, all beaches are subject to potential contamination. Please look at town website to see if beaches are open.
Yep, and I think Rec has been a really good partner. So Rec puts, every week, they put the announcements on the Facebook page, their Facebook page, the Rec department page. We post it on our page. It gets email blasted out, not only to whoever signs up for email blast for Board of Selectmen, Town Administrator, and our department, but also Rec. So you can go on the website, but you can also take the pressure off yourself by signing up for alerts, email alerts when things are posted. We post them at the beaches, we post them on our door. So I feel like we're trying to expand in all the ways we can. But I also think folks need a good place to look to say, why does it even matter? What can happen if the beaches are not clean?
Now, this could be a health concern. Do we have a notification for great white shark? Seeing how Scituate now has shark buoys off its coastline in
So,
conjunction with Marshfield and Duxbury and other surrounding towns.
so my
There were
under,
shark signs.
there are shark signs that kind of be, the Scituate beach signs
Right.
definitely have
Right.
the, this is how you look for them.
Mhm.
But I don't believe the buoys provide real-time data.
Yeah, they go up and check them.
Yeah, I think the buoy data has to be uploaded and then you find out like a day later that they're in the area. And then that's, I think, when the warnings go out. Granted, it's maybe one day delayed, but it's better than we used to have.
You're right. Blue flag, no, red flag with a bunch of teeth marks taken out of it.
I'm not sure what that flag looks like.
I shouldn't make jokes.
Hopefully we,
if something will
hopefully we
happen,
don't, yeah, hopefully we
somewhere
don't have
around.
to, we don't have to see
Hopefully we
them.
don't have to have that.
But I think, yeah, I think the buoys are a good start.
Yeah.
At least it gets us close to knowing when they're in the area, because it's real, it's
Yeah.
real. They're having pretty significant issues off the California coast right now. I think they've had 15 white sharks inshore at one time. And I think about 2.5 weeks ago, they had a woman attacked in body deep water by a white shark. So it's real, they're here, and anything we can do to help advertise, we will. And Rec is, and we have the shark brochures too, which are pretty popular. They're outside our office and outside the main door. Also telling people what to look for, what's the difference between a sunfish, a white shark, and a basking shark. Because they can all be scary if you don't know.
Sure.
They're big, they're all big.
Are they in the director's report?
No,
Oh, sorry.
that's okay. So we have still 10 housing cases, none new, 5 outstanding nuisance cases, none new, 5 environmental release sites, none new. Septic continues to be busy. We've received 4 plans in the last week. We've also followed up with 11 homeowners about expired maintenance contract requirements, which I sent to you sometime middle or end of last week. We have 13 septic failures. But again, I think that number is continuing to come down a little bit. We have 1 connected to sewer, but it's still on the list because we haven't received the abandonment confirmation. We have 1 plan in review and 1 system is currently being installed. So those 3 brings us from 15 just a couple of months ago down to 10. So I think we're moving in the right direction. In terms of food, between April 11th and May 4th, there were 28 inspections conducted, including 1 complaint and 5 re-inspections. Critical violations included dirty ice machines, food storage or contact surfaces not clean, allergen awareness requirements not met, shellfish tags not available, expired foods and food out of proper temperature range. That's what I got.
Thorough, thank you.
Tried to cover most topics. Is there anything new? And ticks at the Board of Health meeting, very discouraging.
Old business, discussion private well regulations.
So, I have, in this case, a packet for each of you, with, what was that? I'm so sorry, I'm trying to limit it, but this I figured you each want your own, so you could do some flipping. So you have two packages of the regulations themselves, one with the red line strikeouts and one clean.
What is different from the one we brought home last time?
So the only difference from the one you brought home last week is anything that is highlighted in green. So, if I point you in the right direction, I believe there were just two locations, I hope I have them right.
Page 3.
Page 3 is the
And
first
this
2 and
one.
3.
Page 2.
So those are strikeouts, which for whatever reason do their own thing in green.
And page 6.
Geez, that's interesting. I didn't
Yes.
see that because I just read the clean one. But
Yeah.
we took out the definition for irrigation well. I see that striked out in green, and I was wondering why, because I was actually going to say, I was going to ask, we should have the definition for irrigation well. Unless it's all different.
Yes, you are right. So that's an edit to put back in.
Okay.
And artesian well too?
That was the only location where artesian well was identified through a search. So,
There was something I read.
I changed the section.
I think this was something at the last meeting that I heard, I wasn't sure about, but on page 5, 4.8, and it says if an existing, oh, I got you, all right. Well, no, all right. I'm gonna say it, maybe I'm wrong, but I've been wrong before. Part of life. If an existing cesspool, privy, or any portion of a soil absorption system is located between 50 and 100 feet from a private well, the wastewater disposal system is considered to be in failure. Wouldn't the well be
Unless-
considered in failure?
Unless
The well takes
unless
precedence over the septic system.
an existing well
Yeah.
takes precedence over a septic system. But both are okay if the well water indicates fecal coliform and ammonia is less than the limit. So when you're doing a Title V inspection, if you're a Title V inspector, one of the questions is there a private well located within a certain radius of the system?
Right, and the
Then they're
cesspool,
required-
cesspool and privy are gonna be failed anyways. I'm assuming.
Not necessarily. If they're still functioning and they're not sitting in groundwater, then they're okay. Situate,
I'm sorry.
Situate doesn't distinguish that cesspools automatically fail, like some
Title V
towns do.
doesn't.
Nope, Title V doesn't either. The reason cesspools tend to fail in Situate is because they're sitting within the groundwater.
Yeah, mostly on the beach or whatever else they're in the groundwater.
Right. So I think your question was, how could there be a solution? And the solution is, yes, you could take out the well,
Mhm.
and the system could remain. Or if there's this pre-existing well, then the system's in failure and the system would have to be
Well,
upgraded.
they both be pre-existing, the septic system and the well. I mean, if the system went in, somebody put one in and then the well, they discovered the well, then I guess then the person putting the system in didn't do their due diligence to find the well.
That's right.
That I
That's right.
understand.
That's right. That's right.
But if all of a sudden we come across a well at an old house with an old septic system, I would think the well would be in failure, especially if there was town water right there. You'd say, no, abandon the well, you've got to go on town water
And you could do that, so,
through this.
through the process,
Through the
right?
process,
So,
okay.
yeah.
You see where I'm coming from, though? It
I
seems
totally
like-
do.
It's like, how can you contaminate a septic system with a well? The septic system's contaminated with a well.
Right, yeah.
Just seemed backwards to me.
Yeah, and
You
this.
explained it.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So.
Leave that alone.
Okay, so section 9 was completely changed,
That's what I'm reading now.
and that's the inspection. I took away the draft language that I had come up with and replaced it with the recommended draft language from DEP. So definitely take a look at that. And then all of the Appendix A was added. I have one clarification to make, which is in the very last table. So on the track change version, page 17. Since we last met, I confirmed with DEP that this recommended list is a little bit different and I think needs to be footnoted. So you'll see that in the list, there's a gross alpha screen, radon, radium, and uranium. What DEP is recommending, and I'm recommending that we adopt, is that the initial sampling does not include radium or uranium, 2 radionuclides, but instead only includes the gross alpha screen. If you flip to the next page, you look at this figure. If the gross alpha screen is greater than 5 picocuries per liter, then you measure you measure radium. And if that same gross alpha screen is greater than 15, then you measure uranium. So you're not measuring all of the radionuclides, which are very expensive. You do the gross alpha screen first. If you have greater than 5, you go one way. If you have greater than 15, you also analyze something else. So I want a better footnote to that so that it's very clear that the initial parameters do not include the radium and the uranium.
Do we agree on that?
Oh, yeah.
We'll have to vote on it.
Whatever she says.
That's what she says.
When you say expensive, how expensive is it for radon or radium or any of those?
So from what I gather, and have no hard numbers, but testing for an entire suite, including some of these are expensive radionuclides, can get over $1,000.
Wow.
So taking away the radionuclides unless absolutely necessary relieves some of the financial burden by several $100s.
Okay.
Now, I noticed on page 12 of the draft, it says for existing wells, each year, preferably in the spring, all private wells should be tested for total coliform bacteria. That's a requirement of the Board of Health?
That is a proposed requirement from DEP, which
Okay.
I am proposing as a requirement of you.
Does it become a, do you, meaning the office, that have to keep track of all this? I mean, today with computers, I guess you can do a database.
Still not that many, though, if you think about it.
Yeah.
The answer is yes, and the answer is no. There's not a ton in Scituate at this point in time.
Right.
Yes, we would have to track it, and we do have a current, I do have a
What
current
do we do if
spreadsheet.
people don't? They thumb their nose at us and say, hey, you know, if it comes up. Yeah, I know, it's,
Call them in.
yeah.
Because that requires you and her in order to be able to keep on top of that in order to.
And we maintain databases of everything from operations and maintenance contracts for septic systems
I
that
saw
are out of
that,
date.
yeah.
And we track soft serve sampling, laboratory sampling results for any establishment that has
So
soft
this is
serve.
okay then? We're
So
not
we're
getting out-
tracking,
I just hate to make a rule that you can't
Yeah.
Track.
enforce. Like, you know, there's no smoking in your private home. There's no way we could enforce that, and there's no need to make a law for that. It'd just be crazy, it'd be asinine. So this is something that's, it's a good thing. I'm not saying it's not a good thing. You should know if you've got chloroform in your drinking water. It's just making sure it's not going to become a burden and we can't.
Well, I don't think a lot of these are gonna be drinking water anyway.
the whole premise of this set of regulations is that there's no distinction. Is that all wells must meet requirements
For potable.
for potable, so.
But I don't think a lot of people will be leaving for, in my opinion.
I don't think they knowingly will. You know, if somebody goes, all right, I have
Well,
a
sure they
pipe.
do, because they're gonna have to shut off town water on it, aren't they?
Not if they're using it for irrigation.
But if they have a owner come in and transfer lines for drinking water or showering water and so on and so forth, I mean, they'll have to shut off town water, would they not?
Right, so, yes, but these regulations are written are drafted, so that you can install a well with the intention of just using it for irrigation, or you can install a well with the intention of using it for both your potable water supply and irrigation.
Let me ask you a question. How many of them do you think will pass in this town in order to be able to do it? From your experiences now?
It varies. You know, it varies what your surroundings are, it varies how deep the well is.
I thought too, if the town water ran by your property, you'd have to hook up to it, I thought.
You can't have two connections.
Can't have two connections,
Right.
no, I get that, but if there's not a water line in an area like out in the west end, and I don't even know if there's any now, because
Summer
west
Street.
end's getting developed.
Summer Street
So if there's
has,
no line on Summer Street, then
your well, so your well,
it has to be.
it has to be for potable use. And there's several homes on Border Street that have private wells for drinking. And they're connected to the house. You can't have town water supply connected to your house and a private well connected to your house.
Right, because you could get backflow and.
Cross contamination, right. Your private well could contaminate the town water supply. So, yes, for true drinking water, where you have a well that you want to install and attach to your house, you have to meet the
What kind of
requirement.
filtration systems do people put on for drinking water?
It depends on what the contaminant is. It can be as simple as a carbon filter, or it could be a much more involved, like reverse osmosis to take care of salt. It varies based on what the contaminant is. But, you know, a person's gonna check off on the application, am I gonna use this for drinking water, or am I gonna use this for irrigation? Regardless of what they check off,
It has to have.
the sampling has to meet drinking water, because the assumption is that somebody could feed their chickens, fill their swimming pool, or their kids.
So how many variances are gonna come for us in the long plan hypothetical that it passes 99.8% of whatever it needs to do, and all they wanna do is just water their garden and their grass, but because we're putting stipulations in, it doesn't pass?
Well, my recommendation would be, before they could apply for a variance, that they would need to investigate all treatment options, because the regulations say that if you don't meet drinking water standards for any well, you know, treatment is put in place and you collect a subsequent sample for analysis. And I think after only they put the treatment in place, or if they find out for whatever reason there's no treatment available,
And what if it's runoff, like a couple situations we've come across, what if it's runoff from living at the bottom of the hill, and it's something that somebody's doing at the top of the hill, that's out of their control?
well, if the
We've
wells,
already
if the
dealt with
well,
that.
so if the well's constructed properly, because these regulations as drafted don't allow for jug wells, which are the wells most prone to contamination because they're
Okay.
shallow.
Yeah.
If the wells are dug properly and the casing's done, I don't know how, let's say surface runoff, I don't know how surface runoff would infiltrate a well. It would have to go through all the soil, all the groundwater, and then come up through the well. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, I thought that was
Yeah.
a good question.
What's the next step now? Are you,
So I'm looking, so for the regulations themselves, I'm looking for recommendations or revisions based on what,
Just
you
got
read.
mine.
Yes, I got the one to put the definition back in.
yeah,
So I'm looking for any
I
others.
need to redo it again,
Okay.
unless you want to do it today.
No,
Do
so,
we do it today?
so no,
No, I
so
think
the,
it
so
was-
the
yeah,
goal.
to vote on it by May 31st.
May 31st, right. So the other piece, which you'll pull out, is I have one copy only, of the old application form and the old checklist.
Yeah.
I've given you in your packages the new application form, and I didn't give it to you track changes because it was way too ugly to do it. You'd never follow it. And then the new checklist, which is obviously much more involved, and hopefully a little clearer. This is what you need for a permit, and this is what you need for a certificate of compliance, just like we did.
I don't have that.
I don't need it.
What?
All I have is the draft.
I don't have the draft, and I don't have the.
That's the old, I got the new
I
right
don't
here.
have
So he has, so you wanted one, right, one package of the new,
I have the new.
and one
it.
package of the old.
Should have
You
seen
can-
the paper on this. Makes no sense.
Well, those are the involved, really involved ones. Here, take mine. So these are the new ones,
The one
and
thing
the old
I
ones are sitting right here.
did see on the new, which I just questioned only because I have a background, a plan with a specified scale signed and stamped by a professional land surveyor, registered sanitarian, qualified consultant, or professional engineer showing the following. Whenever you get into property lines and stuff, that has nothing to do with professional engineers, qualified consultants, nor registered sanitarians. It all falls on the shoulder of a professional land surveyor.
So it would then be a Lancer, so location and description.
It's even like when the plans you see for a septic system, when it shows lot lines and the septic system in relation to the lot lines and the building in relation to the lot lines, that's the land surveyor's job. When the system's designed, that's the engineer's job. But an engineer can sign survey plans. So I guess you could have a land surveyor and a registered engineer. But the sanitarian, I guess, can do septic designs, but they have nothing to do with lot lines.
Okay, so you want to take out, so.
And then the qualified consultant, that could be, I don't know, a well driller, and that's a guy, and no offense, but we're in a different day and age, that's not drawn on a napkin, you know, in your office to say, oh yeah, the well's over here. But yeah, right there in the corner of the lot line, taken from the assessor's map, you may be inviting that information.
Okay, so your recommendation here is to leave it as only a PLS
Yeah.
or a PE
Yes.
to do these?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay,
Sounds good to me.
all right, so strike these. Anything else that caught your? So I will also revise this in the regs, because the same statements in the regs, they go
Gotcha.
hand in hand.
Oh, I didn't see it in the regs, and that's all I saw there, just.
Right, so it's PLS or PE. Okay. All right, so I caught it in the regs too.
You could almost check with one of the engineers that comes through the door, just ask them off in, 99% sure, correct.
Yeah, I know that PLS must stamp something if it's less than 10 feet from the property line, for a septic.
How about
Yeah,
here,
they're certifying the land,
Right,
they're
right,
representing
right.
the land, they can't speak for itself.
Yeah,
how about here we have those buildings check one irrigation drinking water, and in parentheses here, must comply with all, either, no matter which one it is, it has to comply with all the testing that we set forth.
sure,
So people understand that, oh, I'm only getting irrigation, why does it have to be?
sure.
Why do I have to make sure it passes for potable?
And drinking water, do we use in our definitions drinking water, or should we have potable?
We do have potable.
Should it be potable water or drinking water? If you have one definition, you should carry it through with all of
Yeah,
them.
we can do that.
I mean, drinking water is mentioned through the.
Just so somebody doesn't ask, well, I only want to water my garden why do I have to?
Yep. So we're changing on the application from drinking water to potable in terms of the option, and then with, next to that, put an asterisk, all wells must meet sampling requirements,
Regardless of,
regardless of use.
right.
That's a good point.
Okay.
And in the purpose, maybe I didn't read the purpose close enough. Did we kind of state in there why we did that? Would it be worth a paragraph to state in there why we?
I don't think you need to cite other towns' problems.
No, but yeah, I wouldn't go as far as explaining it that much, but just to say of any inherent ingestion of irrigation water is the reason, or do we even have to?
Well, this is what it currently says,
Yeah.
as a draft. Acting under the authority conferred by MGL Chapter 111, Section 31, the Scituate Board of Health, parentheses, the board, hereby adopts the following regulation pertaining to permitting, siting, construction, sampling, maintenance, and decommissioning of private wells in the town of Scituate, parentheses, the town. This regulation is intended to protect the quality of the groundwater derived from private wells, the health of the residents of the town served by private wells, and the municipal drinking water supply.
I guess right there, the health of residents of the town and served by private wells, and that basically, that says it, the health. I didn't know if you further explain.
And the municipal
I had.
drinking water supply, meaning that you don't want anything to get back into the groundwater that gets recirculated.
Right, right. But I guess the ingestion is with the health part, and I guess it generally describes it, but it's always one of those things when you have a law thrown in front of you and you don't understand it, like why. And I think our explanation is, why we did it is perfect. I mean, it's just a case in point of somebody that ingested water and got sick. I don't want to repeat myself like 20 times, but it's that person that comes through and why? Why do I have to test? Why? I just want to water flowers with it.
Yep, and we've got,
You know,
those
when the kid picks
questions
the hose
in
up and
town.
takes a drink and,
Right,
yeah.
right.
Yeah, and they're, you know.
And sometimes it's-
6 feet over from the proving grounds and.
Right, and the intent of that
And
is
they're
not.
glowing, and they're glowing 4 months from.
Yeah, right, yeah. You just shut Junior off, he's glowing too bright. But, and the intent of that is not today or 6 months from now, it's 10 years from now, when maybe none of us are within these confines of town hall and it's forgotten. And our predecessors look at it and go, why the hell did they do that? Let's remove it. That's all.
Did you want to add?
No, as long as everybody's comfortable with it, but the intent is a huge thing, and that's, you know, if the intent gets lost, then just food for thought, that's all it is.
Okay, can we move on?
Yeah.
Other business, administrative invoice approvals.
So no other, let me back up, so no other.
I don't know, I'm gonna have to take it home and read it.
Okay,
Yeah, I don't.
I'll take your copy since I've got,
You can take
I
that.
mean, I have to take it home and read
That's-
it.
okay.
That's that. Administrative invoice approvals and meeting minutes approvals, April 19th and May 1st. I know she sent us one today, and I did not read it.
All right,
Do you have a hard copy?
Joan, help me out here, so I've got two,
Oh, I didn't even know one came today.
I've got two, huh?
Is an autocopy in there?
What do you mean?
Oh, no, the
So
invoices.
purchase, yeah, so purchase orders, am I doing both sides
Yes,
here?
yes.
Okay, both sides. Just want to make sure,
Yes.
both sides. And
You want
then,
to take the May 1st off and we do it next week, next month? Next meeting, take the May 1st off?
That doesn't matter.
did you, put the meeting minutes in here? Did I miss those? Yeah, let me, I'll take this stuff and move it over here.
They're not there? It's not there. Oh, not April 9th. No. Want me to read them?
It's in training. Good.
Yes, she's scheduled to go in June.
Same thing with you.
That's right. She's already learning a lot, but
$425.
it's a new certification program.
They teach you how to stack stuff up and
It's for our manager of social services who works on case consults and direct client intervention.
bunch of small ones, huh? 77, 35, 70.
Inspections and, sorry, if I can just go back real quick. So the goal for the private well regulations is to have them be adopted at the May 31st meeting, which is a Wednesday.
That's right, too, Memorial Day is,
Right, Memorial Day is the Monday, so our meeting is Wednesday. So we have to, in advance of the regulations being adopted, we have to publish in the newspaper. So we're gonna have to publish in the newspaper, thank you. We're gonna need to publish this week in the newspaper.
so we want to extend this another 2 weeks?
So, well, that's my question to
Oh,
you.
just tell me when.
I think you were here the last
meeting
one,
happen,
so
I'll-
you might have seen that one.
Well, so if we're going to adopt it May 31st, our newspaper advertisement right there needs to say May 31st. I just need to know from you whether we're going to plan to adopt on May 31st, or if you want me to move it out to the
2
day in
weeks from,
June.
or a week and a half from that, very good.
Right. You want to do June?
Yeah, but you want to review it again, right? Want to review it. Yeah.
All right,
Yeah, just move
so,
it out 2 weeks,
all
and
right.
just change the dates, that's all.
okay, so our next meeting will include final comments and questions from all of you. I won't resend them to you, because I haven't made any changes. Well, actually, I could resend them to you by adding in the irrigation well plus the clarification in Appendix A about the sampling
Yeah, you can
requirements.
resend them by email, yeah.
Sean Harris is SHAWN, just so you know.
Okay, so it'll be the June 15th-ish meeting. All right.
This one? No.
That one, yeah, the two.
I know what you mean. There's a deal in one and not the other. Do we do this one later?
No.
Yes, we can vote on one. We can vote on one, all of us and vote on one,
Okay.
uh,
Just reading them through. Make a motion to accept the meeting minutes of the Scituate Board of Health, May 1st, 2017.
second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Make a motion to accept the meeting minutes from April 19th, 2017, which were at the WPA building.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And that would be it. So,
Make a motion to close the meeting.
second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Close it.